Essentially, you want to do your homework, and one of the ways that you do your homework is by looking at some sample situations or basically the numbers. And here you have a comparison of numbers from the employed scenario and someone who's actually owning a practice, so a solo practitioner. And so just remember, every situation is different. And the only way you can really understand your income potential in the different scenarios is really to just essentially run the numbers yourself. Uh, Obviously, everyone's busy, but spending a little time here is going to be worthwhile. This is an example of a financial projection template that we provide in our course. It basically allows you to estimate your revenue and expenses on a year-to-year basis as your career evolves. So as you kind of walk through the numbers, and I want to kind of point out the overall net cash flow, as the years go on for the employed scenario, it doesn't change a huge amount. But if you look at the owned circumstance, it becomes significantly greater, especially at the turn of the year 3 to 4. And that's kind of an important note because, again, you're like Dan said earlier, you're putting equity into your own practice. So don't forget, this is just cash flow, this is capital. You're also building in equity, which is somewhat of an intangible asset, but it's an asset when you actually cash in your chips, if you will, when you retire. So that's a huge asset, which is not shown in capital calculation. So in the employed scenario, you have zero equity. In the owned, you have equity that's constantly building upward. So the next slide is basically a summary of what those detailed numbers are. Obviously, graphs are great for summaries. This is essentially the annual income for a specialist's lifetime, all right? The typical income trend for joining a practice is in blue. It's relatively stable with immediate returns and relatively predictable growth. So you can see it's just a very steady rise. The typical income trend for buying a practice, as you can see, is in orange with a significant long-term upside. Now, mind you, initially you're going to have costs. So there's an opportunity cost. So, but you can see the significant difference in the slope, which is essentially indicating the fact that you have significant increased trends in annual income. And this usually, at least here, depicts it in about year 3. So by year 3, you're kind of out of the hole. You're starting to make up for the losses. And this trend can continue to grow depending on the number of practices that you choose to embark on.